Why, in just a short moment, did the whole world suddenly slip off its familiar track? The first days of the year started with fierce fires spreading through cities, the sky twisting into strange hanging shapes, weird lights piercing the night, the sun doubling or tripling up in the clouds, shadowy figures appearing far out at sea, winged creatures shooting up from deep forests, glowing orbs lurking in the dark, and objects with no explanation cutting across the sky. It all hit at once, giving people no time to adjust. All over the globe, order started to fall apart. Crowds poured into the streets to pray together, and nature reacted like it was being pushed too hard. We have to ask ourselves, is this just a string of random events? Or is it a message being sent in ways we can't ignore? We'll go through each of these signs, one by one. And right now, let's say a prayer that humanity wakes up in time, so peace doesn't completely slip away. And now, you won't have to wait long. We're going to start right away with 1. The flames of judgment burning Los Angeles. A feeling of unease spread quickly, not loud, but gripping your chest tight, like the familiar ground had just shifted off its normal path. You might not be standing right in the fire, but the world's breathing is changing, and the peace we once took for granted is starting to crack. No one ordered panic, but that quiet worry creeps in, signaling something has gone beyond the usual cycles. In the Los Angeles area, where the Santa Monica and San Gabriel Hills were once seen as natural shields, the Santa Ana winds shifted direction and picked up speed as if pushed hard. Neighborhoods on the hills from Pacific Palisades to Malibu, and then Altadena got swept into the fire's swirl, one after another. Evacuation routes jammed solid, and the sky turned a hazy orange that lasted for days. That sense of helplessness spread as people realized there was no buffer left between them and the heat closing in. The fire didn't spread slowly. It rushed like a wave, swallowing homes, schools, hospitals, and whole neighborhoods that were thought to be the safest. According to mainstream reports, the fires burned over 35,000 acres, destroyed more than 16,000 structures, and took at least 30 lives, with damage numbers still being updated in the days that followed. Thick smoke columns rose thousands of feet high, blocking the sun, and creating a scene that put the whole city under a giant lid of destruction. In that setting, the Bible doesn't come across as comfort, but as a warning bell. Revelation 8-7 wrote ahead about the start of the destruction. The first angel sounded his trumpet, and there came hail and fire mixed with blood, and it was hurled down on the earth. A third of the earth was burned up, a third of the trees were burned up, and all the green grass was burned up. The image of fire pouring down from above is no longer some distant symbol. It mirrors directly the burning city scenes. It doesn't stop there. Revelation 16-8 goes on to describe an even fiercer stage. The fourth angel poured out his bowl on the sun, and the sun was allowed to scorch people with fire. As temperatures soared, dry winds howled through every alley, and daylight felt stifling. That warning rings out like a grim guide to what's happening. Some say it's all just the familiar result of long droughts and seasonal strong winds, a pattern that's repeated in California's history. But the level of destruction, the speed of spread, and the heavy impact on densely built urban areas make that explanation less convincing compared to past events. When the fire crosses natural boundaries and digs deep into human life, the warning message gets clearer than ever. If this is just the first wave, then what lies ahead could be even worse, and no one can be sure they'll stay out of the next one. 2. Strange lightning in a mysterious face appearing on the horizon. Out on the horizon, thick clouds piled up like a living wall, and right when a bolt of lightning ripped across the sky, a shape in the clouds became so clear it took people's breath away. No need to exaggerate. The picture alone was enough to make you feel like something wasn't right was being revealed. In the Maslock area, as a storm rolled over that old urban spot by the sea, the lenticular clouds got bent by the wind into layers stacked on top of each other. A pale golden light flashed from the heart of the cloud, lighting up a structure that looked like a face with dark hollows and sharp, cold lines, along with heavy thunder echoing between the tall buildings. A creepy feeling spread around, and you can see why just a short video was enough to make thousands of people stop and stare at their screens. Right after that, social media and the news were full of all kinds of opinions. Some folks swore they could clearly see a face rising up from the storm, like the sky was shaping it on purpose to send a message. On the other hand, plenty said it was just the usual pareidolia effect, where people assign meaning to random clouds, and calling a weather event spiritual was a sign of group fanaticism. What do you think? Where's the line between plain observation and belief in a moment like that? In the middle of all that debate, the Bible got brought up not as a final answer, but as something to think about. Matthew 24-27 once described an appearance full of light and speed. For just as lightning flashes from the east and shines as far as the west, so will the coming of the Son of Man be. When you put those words next to the image of lightning tearing the sky and light spreading across the cloud layers, a lot of people couldn't help thinking of a sign that had been foretold long ago. Another verse, Luke 10:18, talks about the fall of dark power. He said to them, "I saw Satan fall from heaven like lightning." In the context of a distorted face showing up amid thunder and lightning, this scripture makes quite a few people believe the flash of light wasn't random, but a picture of an invisible battle going on up above. One thing's for sure, that image touched a deep fear in people, where reason and gut feeling clash. Whether explained by science or seen through the eyes of faith, the moment the sky seemed to speak still leaves a lasting echo. And as the storm cleared away, the question hangs in the air. If this is just the first clear sign we've seen, what will come next? How will it show up? And will we recognize it in time before darkness closes in? 3. People take to the streets with the slogan, "God saves." Joy spreads as the streets suddenly light up with footsteps and voices chanting together, like some unseen force is guiding people back to something sacred in these shaky times. That feeling isn't loud, it's warm. It's not fierce, it's steady. It brings out a shared faith that's waking up. Don't we all feel that heartbeat when we see thousands of folks focused on one single message? In a world that's been hit hard by wars, disasters, and worry, the big avenues in places like New York or London are seeing something different. Crowds pour out onto the roads, holding candles, raising signs that say, "God saves." They're not there to fight anyone, they're there to pray. Their presence creates a quiet, solemn atmosphere where every step feels like a plea for peace around the world. Faces side by side, from all ages and backgrounds, come together around the same spiritual anchor. The candlelight flickers in the dark, reflecting in eyes full of hope, like a quiet whisper that faith is still alive and strong. We see a rare kind of unity there, people choosing prayer over panic, hope over fear. In those moments, the words of the Bible ring out like an old anchor that's never out of date. Psalm 46:1 says, "God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble." That verse seems to march along with the crowd, reminding us that even in the storm, there's a place to turn to. As the chants echo between the tall buildings, a sense of awakening spreads faster than any political speech. No arguments, no clashes, just hearts turned toward goodness and longing for a healed world. Joel 2:1 once warned and called, "Blow the trumpet in Zion, sound the alarm on my holy hill," like a reminder to stay alert as big changes draw near. From those candlelit streets, the message comes through clear. Faith isn't just inside churches, it's right out in everyday life. The unity of believers builds a spiritual wall, not to push against anyone, but to shield against the wave of unease spreading everywhere. It's a strong statement that when people turn back to the light together, darkness doesn't win so easily. And as the night ends, the candles go out one by one, but the echo lingers, quietly asking an open question. If this call keeps growing stronger in the days ahead, will we join that flow of faith, or stand by and watch the world turn without grabbing the chance to wake up? 4. A figure hanging over the sea. On the misty horizon, a faint glowing shape appeared, standing out against the water and clouds, leaving those who saw it standing still because they couldn't quite name what they'd just witnessed. Off the coast in Italy's Riviera area near Portofino, where the Mediterranean has inspired so many old stories, the scene that day had an unusual, solemn feel. The sky was heavy with gray clouds, the weak sunset light reflected on the deep blue water, and right at that thin line between them, a human figure in white showed up, not clearly standing, not clearly floating, as if it no longer followed the usual pull of gravity. From where people were watching, the shape was clear enough to make you think of something familiar, but blurry enough to leave you wondering. There was no strong movement, no sound, just a quiet presence hanging in the air, giving a sense of something sacred that's hard to explain. What would you call it when science hasn't explained it yet, but your feelings have already jumped ahead of reason? That unclear image made many folks think of familiar symbols of faith tied to this sea, where people have long believed the line between this world and the next isn't so far apart. In that moment of seeing the figure, it wasn't fear. It was a deep, inner quiet, like standing before a sign beyond everyday words. As the photos spread around, the Bible came up not as a final answer, but as an old reminder echoing back. Matthew 24-30 says, "Then will appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then all the tribes of the earth will mourn, and they will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory." Those words make the image over the sea more than just something you see with your eyes. It turns into a big question about what it really means. From another angle, Acts 1:11 reminds us, "This same Jesus, who has been taken from you into heaven, will come back in the same way you have seen him go into heaven." The return is described as quiet but full of glory, enough for those who are paying attention to recognize it without a long explanation. Of course, some say it was just a random mix of light, clouds, and the angle, or even modern tech at work. But the strange clarity of that shape makes pure logic seem less convincing to many who saw it with their own eyes. If this was just a rare natural event, it still left people with a worry that's hard to shake. And if it was a quiet reminder of the return in glory, then the open question isn't about the sky or the ocean. It's about how ready we are in our hearts when the next sign comes. 5. 3 strange lights appear in the night sky. The night sky suddenly became hard to figure out when 3 odd lights showed up high above. They weren't familiar enough to call stars, and not clear enough to say they were airplanes or drones. Those pale yellow lights just hung there in the air, giving a hesitant feeling right from the start, like the sky was purposely keeping an answer hidden. The first reports came from places half a world apart, from North America down to the southern hemisphere. People watching described the same unusual pattern of light. No engine noise, no long trails. The 3 spots stayed fixed for a few breaths, then started changing very slowly, enough to catch your eye, but not enough to guess easily what they were. As time passed, the calm feeling at first gave way to a tension that's hard to explain. The 3 lights weren't separate anymore. They formed something almost complete, a shape that made folks look up longer than usual. Their soft yellow glow wasn't blinding, but it stood out against the pitch-black sky, like they were waiting to be recognized. Talk about it quickly split into different sides. Some said it was just satellites or modern flying gear arranged in formation. Others who believe felt it was something beyond technology. In between those views, the job of sharing the news is just to put the event out there. What do you lean toward? In those thoughts, the Bible comes up as a key to understanding order up above, where every movement has meaning. Revelation 8-6 talks about the moment the messengers in heaven get ready, the 7 angels who had the 7 trumpets prepared to sound them. Those words make many think of a tight arrangement, nothing random. On a deeper level, Revelation 9-1 goes on about a change from heaven to earth. The 5th angel sounded his trumpet, and I saw a star that had fallen from the sky to the earth. The star was given the key to the shaft of the abyss. The order in the universe here isn't chaos. It's running according to a plan set long ago. Seen in that light, the 3 lights aren't just something to see anymore. They become a sign that makes you think about your place in bigger things happening. Even if science is still looking for answers, the uneasy mix with awe that this stirs up is hard to deny. If the sky is sending a message in a wordless language, the open question isn't whether it's stars or drones. What's more important is, when the order up there starts to shift, will people keep looking up in doubt, or get ready in their hearts for what's about to be revealed? 6. A faint shadowy figure flickering in the sky over the ancient temple. The moment the camera pointed up at the sky above the old temple, a blurry shape suddenly showed up and made your heart skip a beat, like history was cracking open just a little. In that second, you could feel a chill run down your spine, not from the night breeze, but from the sense that you were seeing something way beyond the ordinary. This happened at Göbekli Tepe, one of the oldest places known to mankind, with stone pillars dating back about 12,000 years. The spot already feels sacred and mysterious, and now it's even harder to figure out with this unclear figure appearing in the sky overhead. A lot of folks compare it to fuzzy images that have shown up over other ancient temples, where the line between past and present seems to fade away. That human-like shadow didn't stand firm like a solid object, nor did it drift fast like a cloud. It just hung there, half real and half fading. Its color kept shifting, from milky white to pale gray like morning mist, then slowly disappearing as the camera tried to focus. The more you look, the more questions come up, because the shape clearly reminds you of a person standing still, quietly gazing down at the ancient ruins. In that blur, many people turn to old scriptures for clues. Daniel 7:13 comes up a lot, like a haunting hint. I was watching in the night visions, and behold, one like the Son of Man, coming with the clouds of heaven. The part about coming with the clouds makes that hazy figure in the sky over the temple feel like more than just an optical trick. On another level, Revelation 14:14 adds to the connection. Then I looked, and behold, a white cloud, and on the cloud sat one like the Son of Man, having on his head a golden crown, and in his hand a sharp sickle. The similarity between those Bible words and what the camera caught makes a lot of people feel like they're facing some deep symbolic sign. Of course, there are natural explanations too, from atmospheric illusions to random plays of light and humidity. But the fact that the figure only appeared for a brief moment and vanished right while being filmed makes it even harder to explain, especially at a place full of humanity's sacred memories. When you put all these pieces together, it's not just a story about a faint shadow in the sky anymore. It turns into a reminder that sometimes the past, the present, and faith all meet in one single image. And if that sign really points to a return hinted at long ago, the big question left open is whether we're ready to face it, or if we'd rather see it as just a shadow fading into the mist. 7. A total of 6 suns appeared on the same cloud. The sky looked like it was torn into layers of light, leaving people stunned and not quite sure what was happening. On just one cloud, several bright sources showed up at the same time, making it feel like reality had slipped off its usual track. That sense of wonder lingered, even after the sight faded. This happened in Chengdu, a place where special weather conditions have caused rare optical illusions in the past. But this time, the intensity and pattern of the light didn't fit any familiar explanation for many folks. 6 glowing orbs lined up side by side on the same cloud layer, almost like the sky was putting on a carefully arranged show. Videos that spread online showed the light so strong it blurred the edges between the clouds and the sky, giving an unreal, almost edited look. Those 6 suns didn't overlap or vanish quickly. They hung around long enough for everyone to notice something unusual. Their slow movement stretched out time, forcing watchers to follow along in quiet disbelief. In the comments that followed, a lot of pastors and believers started connecting it to a symbolic view of human history. The 6 suns were seen as signs of 6 stages that have already passed, matching the 6 trumpets that have sounded over the long stretch of time. In that way of thinking, when the final light cycle appears, the 7th trumpet will sound, marking the shift to the last phase that's been warned about for ages. Right now, we're just waiting on that boundary line. What's worth noting is that this interpretation doesn't come from a passing feeling. It's rooted in a system of symbols that's been around for thousands of years. Revelation 8:2 sets it out clearly. And I saw the 7 angels who stand before God, and 7 trumpets were given to them. Those 7 trumpets aren't scattered. They follow a complete order, step by step. When that process reaches its end, Revelation 11:15 describes the key moment. The 7th angel sounded his trumpet, and there were loud voices in heaven which said, "The kingdom of the world has become the kingdom of our Lord and of his Messiah." For those who see symbols here, 6 suns on one cloud isn't random. It's a marker that the process is winding down. Of course, science still offers explanations about light bending and reflecting, and those deserve respect in their own right. Even so, it's hard to deny the deep impact this had on people, making many stop and think about a bigger order working behind the everyday sky. This rare moment was seen all at once, and the question hanging in the air isn't really whether the light was an illusion or a sign. What's left open is this: when the final sign comes, will we recognize it as the fulfillment that's been talked about for so long, or just see it as another puzzling sight that we soon forget? 8. A strange object flying across the sky. Against a clear blue sky, something flashed by that made folks stop and stare, because whatever was speeding along didn't look like anything normal. In that wide stretch of blue, a round white spot showed up and vanished so fast it just left you wondering, what in the world was that? And why did it pop up right then? The first reports came from different spots in the Middle East, a place that's used to military planes and close watching. But this thing made no noise, left no smoke trail, and showed no signs of an engine. When the videos were slowed down, it felt even more tense because its path didn't follow normal rules. It seemed to glide through the air like nothing was pushing against it. The videos show a shape that's almost perfectly round, even all over, and pale white like a cloud packed into a ball. It was there for just a few seconds, long enough to spot something odd, but not long enough to figure out what it really was. That puzzled feeling spread quick, making a lot of people wonder if they'd seen some rare natural thing or something way outside the usual. When experts spoke up, their explanations were careful. Some thought it might be a big, high-altitude balloon catching the sunlight. Others mentioned test drones or secret surveillance gear. But even in those ideas, there were gaps, because the speed and steady motion didn't quite match any known models that are out in the open. With things still unclear, the Bible comes up as another way to think about it, not to knock science, but to open a deeper thought. Ezekiel 1-4 talks about a moving sight. I looked, and I saw a windstorm coming out of the north, a great cloud with flashing lightning and surrounded by brilliant light. That scene brings to mind something sudden, with power beyond human control. In another part, Revelation 1-7 goes on with, "Look, he is coming with the clouds, and every eye will see him." The picture of clouds and appearing isn't quiet. It's something that makes every eye look up, ready or not. Putting this sighting next to those Bible words, many feel a link that's hard to call just chance. The round, white object isn't just a dot in the sky anymore. It turns into something that stirs the mind between doubt and awe. How it showed up and vanished so quick feels like a short reminder, enough to leave a lasting, uneasy feeling. If one day that thing in the sky doesn't just zip by but stops right there in the open, the question won't be if it's tech or nature. What folks would have to face then is the meaning behind it being there, and whether we're ready for what's been foretold from the clouds. 9. Strange, winged, human-like creature flies up into the sky. In the thick fog of the rainforest, that feeling of being watched makes your breathing speed up, like the sky just opened a cold crack. There are moments when the fear doesn't come from any sound, but from the dead silence right before powerful wings beat against the air. This happens deep in the dense jungles of the Amazon or Indonesia, where sunlight gets scattered into faint streaks. Witnesses only catch a glimpse of a human-like figure, covered in a misty veil like fog, shooting straight up through the treetops. The wings spread wide, built like bird feathers but moving sharp and cold, leaving behind a confused feeling where it's hard to tell what's real and what's just an illusion. That creature moves fast, like a living shadow. Each wing beat tears through the mist, showing a jagged, twisting flight path that's nothing like any bird we know. No cry, no trace, just a heavy emptiness after it's gone. How would you react if that moment was captured clear as day right in front of you, but it challenged everything you thought you knew? Revelation 14-6 adds a layer that gives a lot of people chills. Then I saw another angel flying in midair, with the eternal gospel to proclaim to those who live on the earth. When you put that image of something flying in the sky next to these words, the line between the seen world and the unseen suddenly feels very thin. It doesn't feel like just a strange encounter anymore. It feels like a quiet warning that the old boundaries have been pushed aside. Isaiah 6-2 tightens things even more. Above him were seraphim, each with 6 wings. With 2 wings, they covered their faces. With 2, they covered their feet. And with 2, they flew. Pictures of winged beings aren't just symbols anymore. They read like ancient records of what people might face when the normal order gets shaken. In the deep jungle setting, the message feels more like a question than comfort. Of course, skeptical views come quick. Some say it's just a big bird, a giant bat, or a hallucination from low oxygen and stress. Others point to psychological effects, light bending strangely, or old legends like Mothman retold. But the question still hangs there. Why does the shape look so human? And why does the movement go beyond what any known animal can do? No matter how you explain it, that appearance still sends a cold warning about boundaries we shouldn't take lightly. When the sky isn't completely safe anymore, and the deep forest isn't just for animals, people have to rethink their place. If those wings tear through the fog one more time, what would get swept away first? Your fear, your faith, or your own confidence? 10. A strange orb of blue and red light flickering through the leaves. Sometimes silence can be scarier than any noise. In a forest at night, with no wind, no insects, no sign of life at all, the darkness seems to stand still, listening to itself. In a moment like that, if a spot of light suddenly appears among the leaves, would you dare believe you'd just seen something beyond ordinary logic? The light has two contrasting colors, cool and warm, alternating as it brightens and fades, like it's breathing in rhythm with the forest. No explosion, no harsh flashing, just a slow appearance that makes the space around it feel sacred in a way that's hard to explain. The perfectly round shape of that glowing source floats between tall trees dozens of feet high, moving so slowly it feels like time is stretched out. The colors are deep and vivid, not faded at all, reflecting off the dew-wet leaves like pieces of stained glass in a cathedral. It doesn't feel threatening. Instead, it feels like being seen, as if something is quietly watching the inside of a person's heart. Revelation 21:23 offers another way to think about light that goes beyond natural rules. The city does not need the sun or the moon to shine on it, for the glory of God gives it light, and the Lamb is its lamp. When you put this Bible verse next to the glowing phenomenon in a nighttime forest, the light becomes more than just a physical thing. It turns into a sign of divine presence, not depending on familiar sources of light. Ezekiel 1:13 deepens that feeling with an ancient, powerful image. The appearance of the living creatures was like burning coals of fire, or like torches, a moving light with life and purpose, not something lifeless. The similarity makes many people wonder if those old descriptions are echoing in modern times, in a new form. Of course, plenty of folks say it's just glowing gas in a damp environment or some random chemical reaction. That explanation sounds reasonable, but it leaves out one key detail. Why are the colors so clear, steady, and moving in such an orderly way? When science doesn't have a complete answer yet, that gap in understanding accidentally opens the door for faith. No matter how you look at it, this glowing source deep in the forest carries a gentle but serious reminder. The light doesn't burn or destroy, it quietly reveals the dark corners people try to hide. And if one day it comes closer, will that light guide you or force you to face things you've never dared to look at straight on? 10 events have now passed that are no longer just scattered moments of curiosity. They've come together to form a heavy and clear picture. From fires breaking out where fire shouldn't be, to the sky being torn open by signs that can't be explained, to images that feel both holy and terrifying, everything has shattered that fragile sense of safety all at once. The idea that the world is still running normally has vanished, making way for a hard truth we can't escape. A new phase has begun, fierce and unrelenting. The Bible has long warned about times like these. Matthew 24:6-8 says plainly, "You will hear of wars and rumors of wars, for all these things must come to pass. But the end is not yet. Nation will rise against nation. But all these are the beginning of sorrows." When we put those words next to the rush of events we've just seen, any sense of coincidence fades, replaced by a deeper unease. Faced with this picture, people don't have many choices left. We can keep turning our backs and staying stuck in old habits, or we can humble ourselves and turn back to God in repentance. Joel 2:12-13 calls for a clear path. "Return to me with all your heart, with fasting, weeping, and mourning. Rend your heart and not your garments." That turning back isn't out of blind fear, but out of clear awareness and purified faith. In the middle of the chaos, there's still a promise for hearts that don't look away. Psalm 91:1-2 reminds us, "He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty." That's a guarantee for anyone who seeks light in the darkness and leans on something greater than their own strength. But if all these signs are treated as just noise and quickly forgotten, what will happen when the final line is crossed? When the darkness no longer stands outside the door but floods inside? Will there still be time to turn around? That question isn't for someone else. It's for every person reading these lines right now. If something just stirred in your heart, a thought, a quiet prayer, let it become words in the comments below as a personal marker of awakening. And if this has touched your faith, please spread it with a like, a share, and by following along so you don't miss any future messages. Thank you for listening all the way to the end. May peace cover you and your family in the days ahead and in the challenging ones to come. Amen.
Snow in Hawaii? Yes, and it's more common than you think. 8 to 10.
Have you ever wondered where the future is rushing off to as time keeps speeding up every day? From New Year's Eve on December 31, 2025, right through to January 7, 2026, the world has seen one unbelievable sight after another. Tropical snow blanketing Hawaii, lava erupting from Etna on its snowy peak, California's sky glowing deep red, a holy figure appearing among the clouds, massive storms rolling in, fire whirls roaring across the land, objects from space crashing down, strange lights moving invisibly, purple comet balls burning bright, and towering waterspouts out at sea, ringing like giant bells. This isn't just coincidence. God is calling out loudly for humanity to wake up before Judgment Day. So, before we dive deeper into uncovering the hidden truth behind these 10 mysterious events, let's leave a simple prayer for peace in this world as we face a year full of changes. Amen. And now, so you don't have to wait any longer, I'll get started right away with 1. Snowstorm hits Hawaii. It started right on January 1, 2026, with snow covering the top of Mauna Kea in Hawaii, a tropical place that suddenly turned into a frozen world overnight. That's when we realized nature can change everything in just one night. Up at 13,803 feet on the Big Island, a thick layer of ice appeared out of nowhere, like a huge secret coming to light. Nobody expected the land of sun and beaches to be buried in quiet white snow. Those first pictures hit you with a confusing, breathless feeling, and you feel part of the story just looking at the screen. On January 4, 2026, according to Fox Weather, a Kona low system moved into the islands, bringing up to 10 inches of snow on the high peaks, strong howling winds, and unusually freezing temperatures. Roads on Mauna Kea were covered in white. Visitors were shivering, cars were sliding on glassy ice, and the scene was quiet, but full of danger. Weather experts looked at it and said this rare event is getting stronger than in 2025, with the Mauna Kea Weather Center reporting snow up to 50% thicker. They pointed to global climate changes as the cause, but the explanations still leave a lot of unanswered questions ahead. Then, in the middle of all that worry, Revelation 16:21 from the Bible comes to mind as a haunting reminder. And there fell upon men a great hail out of heaven, every stone about the weight of a talent. And men blasphemed God because of the plague of the hail, for the plague thereof was exceeding great. Those old words flash like lightning, making you think about changes we can't control. From Joel 2:33:1, another prophecy rings out. And I will shew wonders in the heavens and in the earth, blood and fire and pillars of smoke. The sun shall be turned into darkness and the moon into blood, before the great and the terrible day of the Lord come. The image of snow falling in Hawaii in 2026 suddenly takes on a meaning beyond normal science. Luke 21:11 comes next, like the final piece in the report. And great earthquakes shall be in divers places, and famines, and pestilences, and fearful sights and great signs shall there be from heaven. It makes you feel colder, realizing that message isn't far off at all. We're seeing something small, but shaking our whole view of the world. This isn't just snow, not just ice. It's a sign, quietly knocking on the door of the future. It's the Lord's warning about extreme climate changes, the signs of the end times, freezing people's souls, and we can't turn away from what's happening. Behind that white snow, there seems to be more left unsaid, but farther away, on Italy's Mount Etna, fire and snow are mixing together, Another terrifying contrast waiting for you in the next part. 2. A strange sight on snowy Mount Etna. On the night of January 1, 2026, lava from Etna poured out over the white snow. Hellfire met heavenly ice, and the scene hit us right away like a giant puzzle. On the slopes of Sicily's mountain that stands 10,922 feet high, bright red streaks crawled slowly through the cold, silent snow, making a picture so confusing that folks couldn't believe their eyes. From a crack in the Val del Bove, at around 2,000 meters up, as reported by GoEtna, a steady lava flow burst out and started spilling over the icy surface. Like the earth was opening a wound on New Year's night. It gives you chills seeing that sharp contrast right there on your screen. The lava rushed fast, the snow melted with a hiss, steam rose thick, explosions boomed, the whole area hot and chaotic, while down below it was icy, quiet, and still. Drones from Fox Weather caught every moment, showing red fire rolling in and slowly swallowing the white, like two worlds yelling to claim the space. This upside-down nature scene leaves people unsettled, worried, with a feeling of breaking apart spreading in their minds. In one spot, destructive heat flares up. In another, cold ice hangs on stubbornly, creating a puzzle no simple explanation can ease. Revelation 8-7 from the Bible rings out like the first key to it. The first angel sounded his trumpet, and there came hail and fire mixed with blood, and it was hurled down on the earth. A third of the earth was burned up, a third of the trees were burned up, and all the green grass was burned up. Those old words seemed to mirror straight into the burning Etna images, making viewers suddenly realize this site was talked about long ago. But scientists come in with a practical view. They explain the volcano activity as just geological rules, pressure releasing from magma built up over months, and they warn that lava on snow could cause landslides, steam explosions, and risks to nearby areas. Two different views sit side by side, one mystical with prophecy, the other cool with facts and laws. Revelation 8-8 adds another piece. The second angel sounded his trumpet, and something like a huge mountain, all ablaze, was thrown into the sea. A third of the sea turned into blood. That blazing mountain picture matches exactly what you just saw on Etna, and the connection hits even stronger in the reader's mind. Matthew 24-29 comes up too, full of warning. Immediately after the distress of those days, the sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light. The stars will fall from the sky, and the heavenly bodies will be shaken. Could this fire and ice scene be just one of many signs pointing to something bigger? We look back at the video and wonder what to believe: science or faith, experts' explanations or messages from holy pages. What do you think about what you just saw? Is it just nature, or does it mean something deeper? Whatever the answer, Etna is still roaring, snow is still melting, and humanity's future seems to be heating up like the ice under that lava flow. God is mixing fire and ice to remind us of human sin, a sign that hell is about to spread, and we don't have much time left to ignore it. From far off Italy, the story shoots over to California, where a bright sky red as blood is waiting in the next part, like a mysterious door just cracking open. 3. The sky was bright but blood red over California. The morning of January 3, 2026, kicked off in Northern California with a breathtaking sight like nothing before. The sun came up as usual, light poured over the neighborhoods, but the whole sky was covered in a deep red, as if some invisible hand had smeared blood across it. Folks woke up confused. The streets were unusually quiet, cars were scarce, and window glass reflected that heart-stopping glow. Many scientists say the lingering smoke from wildfires that smoldered through late 2025 mixed with a rare atmospheric event early in the new year. They pointed to reports from observatories and data from Astronomy magazine, explaining how fine dust and water vapor low in the air can scatter light and create that intense red color. Climate experts reassured everyone it was just a natural reaction after a string of extreme weather days. But even with those calming words, people's fears didn't ease much, because seeing the sky look like it was quietly burning is hard to shake off. One eyewitness on Fox Weather described how everything around him seemed stained, blood red. The park, the parking lot, even the distant trees. Lots of people filmed it on their phones and shared it online, along with all kinds of questions. Some said they wouldn't let their kids go outside because they didn't know what was happening. In those moments, it really hit home how small we are compared to forces beyond our control. The Bible talks about signs in the sky in strong terms. In the book of Joel, chapter 2, verse 31, it says, "The sun will turn dark, and the moon will turn blood red before that great and terrible day of the Lord arrives." Those ancient words echo like a distant bell in modern times, making many folks suddenly connected to the scene right in front of them. In Revelation, chapter 6, verse 12, it says, "When the Lamb broke the sixth seal, there was a great earthquake. The sun turned black like sackcloth, and the moon turned blood red." Those verses aren't meant to comfort, but to wake people up, reminding us that certain moments in history are set to warn humanity about going down the wrong path. Astronomers kept sharing their view, saying the Quadrantids meteor shower early in 2026 might have added to the mysterious feel of the sky. Science sees patterns, while faith sees messages. When you put the two side by side, it forces you to think deeper. Is this just smoke and light? Or is there something more beyond what we can measure? Under that fiery red sky, everyone wondered to themselves about what might be coming. What do you think when faced with the clash between human explanations and divine warnings? 2026 has just started, but California's sky already feels like the opening page of a book whose ending nobody knows, leaving a sense that, behind that terrifying red, more things are still waiting to unfold. 4. The figure of the Lord with arms outstretched in the sky. On the morning of January 2, 2026, a video spread like wildfire from California and really touched folks online. In the footage shot by a local resident, the early sky looked downright unusual. Among the fluffy clouds drifting gently, there was the clear outline of the Lord, faint but unmistakable, with his arms spread wide, gazing down at the world. It wasn't just some shape made by the clouds. It was a mysterious figure hidden behind a veil of white. Even a quick glance made you feel the holiness filling the air. The California sky that day was clear and cool, with the New Year's sunlight still soft and pale. But right in the middle of that peaceful expanse appeared something beyond normal explanation. The image of the Lord with open arms showed up quietly, surrounded by a hazy glow that seemed lit from another realm. Layers of clouds passed over his face as if trying to hide it, then drifted apart to reveal it more clearly. The sacred feeling coming from that scene made anyone watching pause for a long while. The contrast between the world down here and the sky up there only added to the puzzling tension. While parts of the earth are dealing with disasters and unrest, up above appeared a symbol of mercy. That warm halo, embracing the faint figure, felt like an open door in the winter sky. No sound, no dramatic movement, just a silent but powerful presence. The video was taken with a simple phone, yet its spiritual impact goes way beyond any fancy gear. The Bible has mentioned moments like this many times in a serious tone. In the book of Matthew, chapter 24, verse 30, it says, "Then will appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. And then all the peoples of the earth will mourn when they see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory." The image captured on January 2, 2026, seems to echo that passage closely, making viewers think deeply about the meaning of signs from above. Then in the book of Daniel, chapter 7, verse 13, the prophecy says again, "In my vision at night, I looked, and there before me was one like a son of man, coming with the clouds of heaven." Those ancient words suddenly feel alive next to this hazy moment in today's sky. The matching imagery gives the sense that sacred history is still unfolding. Weather and astronomy experts later spoke up with explanations about light scattering and rare cloud patterns. They said high humidity mixed with the sun's angle could create visual illusions. Those ideas were shared to ease public worries. But no matter how many scientific theories come out, the glow around the Lord's figure in the video still has an undeniable majesty. The perspective from faith offers a completely different view than weather forecasts. In the book of Revelation, chapter 1, verse 7, the Bible says, "Look, he is coming with the clouds, and every eye will see him." That warning shines through any reassuring words. The event in California's sky is seen as a reminder for people to reflect on their own souls. From that mysterious moment, stories of unusual signs keep spreading. And right after the holy figure with arms outstretched among the white clouds, another paradox is looming far away. where a massive storm over the ocean starts roaring, as if signaling the next chapter in human history. 5. The big storm at the start of 2026. Are we really ready for what's coming? When time seems to be rushing by so fast and the future feels more uncertain every day? From January 5 to 7 inches 2026, a huge early year storm suddenly formed out in the Pacific Ocean and swept right into the Pacific Northwest part of the United States. The eye of the storm was massive, swirling fiercely, pulling in the ocean with its violent spin and pushing cold, wet air onto the land. Winds gusted hard, rain poured down endlessly, and snow piled up 12 to 36 inches deep in many Midwestern states, making for a dark and overwhelming start to the year. Just following the news updates one after another was enough to make you feel that nature is getting more unpredictable than ever. That storm wasn't just some ordinary low-pressure system. Meteorologists described it as an extreme weather complex stretching across the whole country, bringing wave after wave of destruction from the south all the way to the Great Lakes area. Early reports noted winds as strong as force 12 on the Beaufort scale, with gusts in places over 70 miles an hour, strong enough to snap trees and shake tall buildings. Waves offshore rose to 20 feet, and heavy rain caused serious flooding in many coastal cities. Forecast maps were updated constantly, with the storm's path calculated hour by hour. But even the best modern models could only give cautious guesses. National weather officials and sites like weather.com warned folks to get ready for a very unusual cross-country weather event. They said the moist circulation mixing with cold air from Canada could lead to heavier snow than in recent years, especially in the Midwest and mountain states. Many experts worried about widespread power outages, roads shutting down, and landslides in areas with ongoing rain. TV announcers kept repeating advice to avoid unnecessary travel. Even though they aimed to calm people, each update sounded like an alarm bell, showing just how vulnerable we are to the furious power from the sky. The Bible came to mind during those stormy days, like a stern voice echoing from the past. In the book of Luke, chapter 21, verse 25, it says, "There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. On the earth, nations will be in anguish and perplexity at the roaring and tossing of the sea." Those words felt haunting when you saw pictures of towering waves and muddy floods rushing through streets. Then in Matthew, chapter 24, verse 7, it reminds us, "Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places." Warnings about big upheavals suddenly seemed so real amid the chaos of today's world. Theologians saw the early 2026 storm as a wake-up call, while scientists viewed it as a result of increasingly extreme climate. Those two opposing views sat side by side, leaving anyone watching to wonder about the true meaning hidden behind it all. No matter how you look at it, one thing was clear: nature is roaring louder, time is pressing harder, and we need to take a good look at ourselves sooner rather than later. But just as the storm was starting to die down, something else began to stir. Out in the far west of the country, swirling columns of fire suddenly erupted across the desert, opening up a next chapter that was even more frightening, as if the sky had barely closed when the ground started rumbling again. 6. The strange fire whirl. Where in the world are we headed when just in the first few days of 2026, nature keeps throwing out scenes straight out of a bad dream? On the afternoon of January 6th, a video shot in the Southern California desert left folks chilled to the bone. Not in some busy city street, but out on that dry, dusty land with sand and hot wind, a huge column of fire suddenly formed and started twisting up into the sky like something alive and angry. The flames burned fierce, tossing dirt and rocks around, sucking everything into its wild spin, making it feel like destruction was bursting right up from the ground. Watching that footage, it's hard not to feel uneasy about what the future holds. The desert is usually a quiet, harsh place, but that day it turned into a scene of pure chaos. Against a pale yellow sky, the fire whirl stood tall, hundreds of feet high, spinning like a giant torch out in the wide open sand. Dust got flung everywhere, thick black smoke poured up, mixing with that bright red glow and making the air feel heavy and hard to breathe. Hot winds howled over the dunes, pushing the fire column along slowly but in a threatening way, like it had a mind of its own. The intense heat made the ground seem to boil, and the sky looked torn apart by that eerie light. In the video, you can really see the scary contrast between the dead dry desert and the raging power of the fire. As soon as the video spread, social media blew up with all kinds of talk. Some people said a fire tornado is just an extreme weather event that happens when a fire meets strong winds and big updrafts. They tried to explain it with science, pointing to pictures from past wildfires. A lot of voices said the whole thing was being blown way out of proportion and had nothing to do with anything spiritual. But others pushed back hard, not buying those explanations, and asking, why would a clear, scary fire column like that form in a place that's pretty much just sand and rocks? With those two sides going at it, where do you stand? It all comes down to guesses from folks online and unnamed weather models. People passed around weather maps, figuring the winds out in the desert might have hit something like EF2 strength, enough to lift the fire column over 300 feet and keep it going for minutes. They talked about the risk of heat waves spreading and how small towns near the desert could be in danger. But it was all just questions hanging in the air. And right in that gap of real information, another clear question came up. What's your take on this frightening thing spinning away? Then the Bible comes in like a final judgment, shining right on those burning images. In the book of Joel, chapter 2, verse 30, it says, I will show wonders in the heavens above and signs on the earth below, blood and fire and billows of smoke. That fire whirl in the California desert seems to match those old words exactly. Over in Luke, chapter 21, verse 25, it goes on the earth, nations will be in anguish and perplexity at the roaring and tossing of the sea. Those words hit like an accusation, making us think about our own lives. And in Revelation chapter 8, verse 5, then the angel took the censer, filled it with fire from the altar, and hurled it on the earth. Even though it happened in a remote, empty area, this fire whirl at the start of 2026 leaves a chilling feeling about what lies ahead for all of us. From the view of someone watching the video, it's a real wake-up call about how fast the world is changing. From a faith perspective, it's a serious warning for anyone who's still not paying attention. But just as that fire column died out in the desert, the sky above started getting white objects falling down from space, opening up a new mystery waiting in the next part of the story. 7. Strange object from space in California. On January 4, 2026, a strange noise suddenly filled the sky over Northern California. In a video taken by locals, you hear a deep rumbling sound that goes on for a while, like it's coming from far away, spreading through the quiet air. There was no warning, just that low, muffled noise that left people puzzled. The footage shakes a bit from the phone recording, but the sky up above stays clear and calm in a way that's almost too perfect. Then, all of a sudden, a bright white object shot across the clouds. The camera caught a long streak of light, glowing like a torch. In just a few seconds, it broke apart in the air into several small glowing circles. These orbs hung there steadily, moving slowly instead of dropping fast. The whole scene looked magical, nothing like the usual shooting stars we've seen before. That eerie feeling made folks online start asking all kinds of questions. The Bible, in Luke chapter 21, verse 11, says, there will be great earthquakes, famines, and pestilences in various places, and fearful events and great signs from heaven. People kept quoting that old verse in the comments as the video spread on social media. Many thought those glowing orbs were exactly what had been predicted long ago. To them, it felt like a sign, a message you couldn't see with your eyes alone, but only understand through faith. The video goes on to show the lights slowly drifting apart, forming a strange pattern against the night sky. No flames, no pieces falling to the ground, just those steady glows, almost like they were watching us back. A mysterious vibe hung over the whole clip. Viewers started wondering if this was really just space junk or something beyond normal understanding. In Matthew chapter 24, verse 29, the Bible also says, the sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light. The stars will fall from the sky, and the heavenly bodies will be shaken. Plenty of online accounts use that verse to explain the moment the object burst into orbs. They believed it wasn't random, but part of a chain of signs showing up more and more across America. From a religious view, every frame of the video seemed like proof of troubled times ahead. But not everyone online agreed. As the video got shared millions of times, opposing opinions exploded. Some called it airplane lights. Others said the rumbling was just static or noise. A few skeptical accounts mocked the Bible-related comments. The debate raged across forums, with each side giving their reasons. That event in the California sky ended up sparking arguments like never before. Revelation chapter 6 verse 13 says, "And the stars in the sky fell to earth, as figs drop from a fig tree when shaken by a strong wind." Many believers thought that perfectly described the orbs staying steady after the burst. They saw it as a reminder that the world is getting closer to bigger changes. For people of faith, each strange sign feels like a new chapter opening in these chaotic times. Toward the end of the video, the camera catches a faint glow streaking across the sky, quick and almost invisible. It made no sound, just appeared for a moment and vanished. The clip ends there, leaving viewers with even more doubt. Was there still something hiding behind those lights from January 4? Those unseen mysteries might just be starting to show up in America's skies. 8. A strange object that seemed to cloak itself. The new year had just started, and the skies over Palm Springs, California, sparked another curious and mysterious story. On the morning of January 1, 2026, against the clear blue desert sky, a YouTube video suddenly caught the attention of thousands of people. The footage showed a white object appearing faintly, sometimes clear, sometimes blurry, like it was fading in and out right in front of the camera. No wings, no trail of fire, just a hard-to-grasp shape that made viewers pause and stare for a long time. The object moved slowly across the wide open sky, then suddenly almost vanished completely. The camera tried to follow it, but only captured a few hazy moments. On Reddit forums, the video was shared with comments calling it a strange cloaking phenomenon. Many users described feeling uneasy watching that dim light drift silently, as if it didn't follow any normal rules. Its appearing and disappearing created a heavy atmosphere, especially in the quiet setting of Palm Springs. In those confusing frames, we're left wondering what's really going on. The online community's reaction showed a mix of fear and curiosity. Comments poured in thick and fast, from wild guesses to colorful theories. Some thought it was an optical illusion from the desert heat, while others believed the camera had caught a military test device. But it all remained just speculation, and the mystery still hung in the clear blue sky. Soon after, scientists and physics experts spoke up with explanations. They said the images in the video could be from light refraction or a regular drone reflecting light at a particular angle. Aerospace researchers analyzed it, saying the slow, blurry movement matched how digital lenses handle distant bright spots. To them, it wasn't anything supernatural, just a visual mix-up combined with the limits of modern recording technology. The Bible came up in the comments in different ways. In the book of Ezekiel, chapter 1, verse 4, it says, "As I looked, behold, a stormy wind came out of the north, and a great cloud with fire flashing continually, and around it a bright light, and in its midst something like gleaming metal." 2. End quote. Those words made quite a few people wonder if the Bible is hinting at something about these cloaking-like images in the California sky. Could those ancient pages be quietly pointing to a deeper meaning that people today haven't fully understood yet? The video kept getting watched over and over, millions of times, while the debates grew hotter. In 2 Kings, chapter 2, verse 11, it also says, "And as they still went on and talked, behold, chariots of fire and horses of fire separated the two of them, and Elijah went up by a whirlwind into heaven." Many folks wondered if those odd images in the blue sky were reminding us of the mystical descriptions recorded thousands of years ago. The Bible's presence in this story became a gentle nudge, a bigger question mark in these unsettled times. We can't ignore that strange, hard-to-explain things keep showing up in America's skies. Even though science offers plenty of viewpoints, that uneasy feeling in viewers' hearts lingers. And then the recording ends with the moment the white object slowly fades into the air again, leaving a new question. If from cloaking to blazing fire, a purple comet sphere rushed close to the ground, what would come next? Whatever's happening above Palm Springs might just be the opening to even bigger signs hiding somewhere in the California skies. 9. A fireball like a comet. Against the pitch-black winter sky, a bright purple glow appeared slowly at first, then suddenly streaked down, leaving a long tail behind it, like a giant brushstroke across the heavens. There was no explosion, no wild motion, just swirling light hanging in the air that made you feel like the familiar world had just been touched by something else. We looked up at the sky that night not out of simple curiosity anymore, but with a quiet worry about what was coming closer. Astronomers linked this sighting to the Quadrantids meteor shower, which peaked from January 3 to 4. According to science sources, at its height, you could see up to 120 meteors per hour, and brighter fireballs often show up among them. Still, what people saw that night was nothing like the usual small streaks. It wasn't just a quick flash of light. We saw a big ball of fire flying low over neighborhoods, steady and clear in a way that's hard to believe. The event was captured in many videos filmed by folks at home, and they spread quickly online. In the clips, you can see the fireball moving really low, its strong light making the ground bright as daylight. That purple tail stretched for dozens of miles, twisting gently behind like it was guided somehow. We watched streams of sparkling smoke trail out, beautiful enough to take your breath away, and scary enough to give you chills. In that moment, you couldn't help wondering, what's really happening above us? In the mix of feelings it stirred up, the whole thing felt like a wave of awe and unease all at once. You saw the light, the speed, the size, everything so real and plain. We heard the reports about meteor rates and the Quadrantids' peak times, but then faced something that didn't fit the usual pattern. That uncertainty made you pause, and it reminded us all how small we are in the face of the universe. Right after those shocking images, the Bible came to mind as a sacred explanation. In Revelation chapter 8, verse 10, it says, "The third angel blew his trumpet, and a great star fell from heaven, blazing like a torch. And it fell on a third of the rivers and on the springs of water." Joel chapter 2, verse 30 says, "And I will show wonders in the heavens and on the earth, blood and fire and columns of smoke." And Acts chapter 2, verse 19 repeats, "And I will show wonders in the heavens above, and signs on the earth below, blood and fire and vapor of smoke." When those words come up, it feels like the sights in the sky are lit by ancient light. These fireballs aren't just lifeless rocks. They're signs urging us to wake up. You might view the event through science, and we can look at it through faith, but that purple fire streaking close to the ground is still there, vivid and unforgettable. From that bright moment, you're led to a new door of mystery, where out over the ocean, a purple lightning tornado is waiting ahead, promising an even stronger journey of understanding for us. 10. The strange water spout out at sea. The scene out on the open water on the morning of January 7th, 2026, suddenly turned scary in a way that's hard to believe. Over the vast surface near Lake Houston, a huge spinning column of water formed real fast, standing straight up toward the sky like a giant smoke tower. It makes you wonder if nature is really getting that angry, with those purple lightning bolts striking over and over around the eye of the whirl. Videos taken by folks out on boats show the sky going dark right in the middle of the day. Winds from the ocean blew hard with force, about like a Category 12, pulling the black clouds together in thick layers. Waves nearly 20 feet high crashed against the breakwaters, while the waterspout reached up hundreds of feet, carrying that muddy brown color from dust and moisture sucked up from the sea. In the middle of all that chaos, purple flashes kept flickering like tears in the sky. Many marine navigation devices lost signal for a moment, and small boats had to turn back to find shelter. The seawater got pulled up in a fierce spin, creating a vacuum area right under the clouds, making it clear that some invisible power was taking over everything. The Bible steps in as a way to explain what's happening right in front of us. In Luke chapter 21, verse 25, it says, "There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. On the earth, nations will be in anguish and perplexity at the roaring and tossing of the sea." Those old words seem to be showing up in our modern times like a serious mirror reflection. Following that chain of events, the book of Exodus comes up too, like a final judgment. Exodus chapter 14, verse 21 records, "Then Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and the Lord caused the sea to go back by a strong east wind all that night, and made the sea into dry land, and the waters were divided." The picture of a big wind parting the ocean back then now reminds us of this swirling water column, like a repeat of that ancient message. Not stopping there, the book of Revelation comes in strong, like a final charge against mankind. Revelation chapter 16, verse 21 says, "And great hail from heaven fell upon men, each hailstone about the weight of a talent." Men blasphemed God because of the plague of the hail. Those words echo amid the roaring sea, like an unavoidable period at the end. From unusual snowfall to swirling fire rings, then to purple glowing balls sweeping through winter nights, it's all built a big picture of a shaky start to the year. We've seen storms, fires, strange lights, and hard-to-explain shapes, one after another. Each one looks different, but they meet at one thought-provoking point. The final message gets clearer than ever. This offshore waterspout isn't just some weather event. It stands at the end of the chain, like a warning bell about something big waiting ahead. We've gone through the 9 signs before it, and now with this 10th one, sky and ocean come together in terrifying destruction. The journey of understanding ends with quiet worry, leaving the feeling that 2026 is just getting started, and humanity's future is hanging in those deep, dark clouds. The first week of 2026 flew by way too fast for everybody. 10 different strange things happened one after another, from tropical beaches to winter skies, from quiet land to the open ocean. You saw weird snow falling on the Hawaiian Islands, then snow covering dry deserts, swirling lights up in the sky, burning objects streaking close to the ground, and finally, a huge tornado out at sea. All of it piled up in just one short week, making it feel like the world is shifting into something totally different. Looking back at the whole chain of events, we see each sign has its own feel, but they're all tied together tight. The snow in Hawaii kicked things off with surprise. The lights in the sky sparked questions. The swirling fires made people scared, and the storm at sea felt like a climax that couldn't be stopped. You can really sense that things around you aren't running the same as before. That feeling grows with every part, like putting together a picture with pieces from all over. In the middle of all these hard-to-explain things, the Bible speaks up in several places, like a distant but powerful call. In Matthew chapter 24, verse 42, it says, "So keep watch, because you don't know what day your Lord will come." That reminder comes at the end of realizing all this, like a gentle but firm command for every worried soul. You don't have to be anywhere special to get it. Being watchful starts right in your own heart. The second letter from Peter comes across like a final judgment, confirming what's ahead. In 2 Peter chapter 3 verse 10, it says, "But the day of the Lord will come like a thief. Then the heavens will pass away with a loud noise. The elements will be destroyed by fire, and the earth and everything in it will be burned up." Those words connect straight to the swirling lights, the roaring sky, the twisting fires, and the storms we've seen. You read those old words, and it feels like they're talking about our time right now. The point hits even stronger after everything. We can't keep ignoring what's showing up. We're standing at some invisible turning point in history, where every choice and action matters a lot for our souls. You can start changing with the smallest things, like a sincere prayer or turning toward what's good. The future isn't some far-off vague thing. It's the path forming right here in the present. So, the call today comes from real care and concern. Leave a prayer or share your thoughts in the comments below so the light of faith can spread to more people. If this means something to you, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss whatever might come next. Thanks for sticking with me through this journey, and I pray for you and your family to have peace, protection, and safety through all the changes. Look up at the sky, because the next sign could come down anytime.
We're afraid that the American
They really bring out a lot of energy.
January 1st, teens under 6.
There's been protesters killed in Iran. You said we were...
Cuba is, not doing very well right now.
14-year-old son is on YouTube and Snapchat at least 2 hours a day. The middle schooler says,
Do you believe that America was prophesied by God long ago about what would happen in 2026? The signs are coming thick and fast now, like warning trumpets echoing from the past, pointing to a year full of challenges. Crises exploding, society in upheaval, politics tense, the economy up and down, weather wreaking havoc without mercy. Do you feel that fear spreading around you? And have you prepared your heart for what's ahead? It all seems to be urging us to pause, reflect, and turn back to faith. Please write a prayer in the comments below for America to have peace in the midst of the 2026 storm. Because right after this, we're going to dive deep into all the events and uncover the full truth that's been appointed for America in 2026. And I won't keep you waiting long. We'll start right away with the first major event: Christian persecution surging in Nigeria and Africa. Are we really living up to the old prophetic warnings for America in 2026? Right from the start of the year, the news hit like a bolt out of the blue, forcing us to face some troubling realities. On January 1st, 2026, the charity Church Times put out a shocking alert, saying the number of Christians killed in Nigeria could double from the year before. More than 7,000 had lost their lives in just the first 220 days of 2025. And now this wave of persecution is spreading to the North Kivu area in the Democratic Republic of Congo, where the village of Katanga got hit by one attack after another. All this news isn't just some far-off story. It's ringing a clear bell for our faith today. Africa is sinking deeper into chaos over resources and religious extremism, with Nigeria, the continent's most populous country, seeing armed groups target Christian communities to grab economic and political power. Starting in 2025, hundreds have been kidnapped and forced to flee their homes, creating streams of scared refugees. International Christian Concern reported that on January 1st, 2026, in Katanga, North Kivu, about 1,200 miles from Lagos, rebels killed dozens of innocent believers, leaving behind heartbreak to start the new year. Meanwhile, in places like New York and Chicago, African-American Christian communities are protesting strongly, calling on the U.S. government to step in harder and protect their brothers and sisters. In the middle of all this troubling news, the Bible stands out like a firm light with its warnings. Matthew chapter 5, verses 10 through 12 reminds us, "Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Rejoice and be glad, because great is your reward in heaven." God's word echoes loud and clear, saying persecution isn't the end. It's a big test of faith. Then Revelation chapter 6, verses 9 through 11 sounds like a wake-up call. "I saw under the altar the souls of those who had been slain because of the word of God." Wait a little longer. These verses help us see that the bigger the trial, the stronger our faithfulness needs to be. Looking through the lens of prophecy, what's happening in Africa is signaling a similar test coming for America in 2026. Faith here in the U.S. could face attacks, challenges, and upheaval from new conflicts we can't fully see yet. The Lord is warning that even a nation long seen as a stronghold of religious freedom needs to get ready for darker days. If Americans don't turn back with repentance and unite in prayer, spiritual chaos could easily break out right here at home. But the story still has a big open space waiting ahead. Will America in 2026 stand up to defend our faith, or get swept into the world's fearful currents? The future isn't fully written, and that's what draws us to keep going. Let's join together and leave prayers in the comments for America to have peace through this turbulent 2026, because the challenges are closer than ever. Interfaith Alliance pushes for a religious forum at the G20 in 2026. A small piece of news slipped out quietly at the start of 2026, but it carried a mysterious feel to it. On January 2nd, 2026, according to Religion News Service, Cardinal Timothy Dolan and more than 80 religious leaders in the United States sent an urgent letter to President Donald Trump. The letter asked the U.S. government to add an official religious forum to the agenda of the G20 summit that America would host in Washington, D.C. It all happened pretty quietly, leaving you and a lot of folks wondering why religion was suddenly front and center in an event that's usually just about economics and politics. The background to this request really gets you thinking. 2025 saw all kinds of reports about religious freedom declining around the world, from tough restrictions in Belarus to extreme violence in Nigeria. As noted by the Diocese of Scranton, this new interfaith alliance formed to fight extremism and protect minority faith communities. Unlike the existing G20 Interfaith Forum, this effort wants a stronger voice right inside the official U.S. government setup.